Mr. Bennish.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Robert Bennish. I've been volunteering at Whitman Walker Clinic since 1994. I am part of the Whitman Walker Clinic Society, their major donor program, and since January of 2003, I have been on staff at the clinic as the Director of Annual Giving in the Development Department. I have been responsible for raising funds for the clinic through direct marketing and workplace giving. The programs I manage make up the bulk of private fundraising at the clinic, with events being the other main area of fundraising. My programs used to generate between $3 and $3.5 million a year. That was before our current management team arrived and diminished fundraising efforts. Fundraising has never been a priority for this management team. Now, if I'm lucky, I can raise $2 million a year. The budget for workplace giving was totally eliminated a couple years ago. The budget for direct marketing is basically meaningless because we rarely have the cash in time to pay for fundraising solicitations. Cash flow management has been horrendous the past couple of years. Sometimes I have to beg for $7,000 in postage so I can get a mailing out that will produce over $200,000 in revenue. All management can see is that $7,000 check they have to write, not thinking of the $200,000 that will come in during the next month or two as a result. Earlier this month, I had vendors who had not been paid for services in over 9 months to a year. This has been a common practice at the clinic the last few years. We have very few vendors left to produce fundraising campaigns for us because we never pay on time. When we do find somebody that will work for us, we end up paying a premium and we have to pay up front now before they will work on the solicitation. The lack of cash flow management has made raising money at the clinic an incredible challenge for us all. A perfect example of how fundraising does not even hit current management's radar screen was the email and letter the clinic sent out to donors last week. Thousands of dollars on first-class postage and hundreds of man-hours were used to send out a letter that asked donors to write to Mr. Catania and other council members saying enough is enough. There were employees, some highly skilled medical professionals from at least 4 departments working hours to stuff those envelopes to get it in the mail before this meeting. Throughout the whole letter, there was not one request for donations or even option to donate. Meanwhile, I currently have a fundraising solicitation letter on hold. So as you can see, fundraising is not a top priority for this management team. They know how to cut services, cut employees, shut down facilities, but generating and collecting revenue seems to elude them. I'm still amazed that we have half the staff and about half the buildings and provide fewer services, and we still cannot manage our cash flow and pay some past due bills we owe. I'm also here because of the mismanagement of our 403B retirement plan. The current management team has been unethical and has shown a disregard for their legal and fiduciary responsibilities to the plan, the employees, and the clinic. Twice in the last year, the clinic has taken up to 3 months to deposit the clinic employees' payroll deductions into the retirement plan. ERISA laws, Employee Retirement Income Security Act, administered by the Department of Labor, state that the employer must deposit the contributions in a timely manner. Generally, the Department of Labor expects the funds to be in the retirement account within 5 to 7 business days. Currently, as of this last Friday, the clinic is in violation of this law again. The retirement plan had not had any deposits since the end of March, so they are behind by about 2 pay periods. This is during a time of rapid growth in the stock market. In the last 8 weeks, the major markets have gained about 20%, but clinic employees have not been able to take advantage of that in the past month because the clinic has not sent our contributions into the plan, as required by law. From January 08 to March 31st, 08, the clinic only transferred employee payroll deductions once on March 31st of 2008. On March 10th, as you'd mentioned earlier, I informed senior management that our retirement withholdings from payroll from January and February were not in our retirement accounts. The plan administrator, who is the Director of Human Resources, tried to tell me that they were only required to transfer contributions once a quarter, and they would be doing so at the end of March of 2008. I told the plan administrator and our CEO that this violated federal law. The plan administrator then changed the story and told me that they were in transition period in the finance department and were auditing things, but still maintained that the payroll deductions would not be deposited until the end of the month. The clinic was and is struggling financially, and they were effectively using our payroll retirement withholdings to pay other clinic bills. It is my understanding that lending money or other extension of credit between the plan and the clinic, a party in interest, is a prohibited transaction under ERISA code and can be prosecuted criminally. Then in November of 08, the clinic management moved our retirement plan from ING to Nationwide. I'm not sure of the rationale for this action. A blackout period was in effect from November 24th until the new account was active on December 24th of '08. However, there were no deposits of accumulated employee withholdings into the new account until January 21st of '09. So payroll withholdings from early November through December of '08 were not deposited to our retirement accounts until January 21st of '09. When I asked the plan sponsor representative about this delay, she said my employer was having transmission problems. I asked why it took 4 weeks to fix a transmission problem, or why a check couldn't have been sent once they knew there were problems. The answer I got was, I don't know. When the clinic management set up the new plan at Nationwide, I was informed that they requested that employees not have access to transaction history online, only in the quarterly statement. When I discovered this, I asked the clinic's plan administrator why we couldn't see transaction history similar to the old account. He suggested that Nationwide did not offer transaction history as an option. I then informed him that they did offer that, and I requested that he direct Nationwide to give us access to transaction history. The plan administrator replied, "That is not something we wish to pursue at this juncture." They since have revisited my request, and it was granted in March. I then wanted a printout of my transaction history for the quarter back to January 1st. The Nationwide representative told me they could not do that, only the plan administrator could do that. I then called the plan sponsor, the Long Island Employee Benefits Group, and they asked for a printout, and I asked them for a printout of my transaction history back to January 1st. She told me only the plan administrator could do that. I then asked the plan administrator, and he told me he did not have access to that information and could not do it. I requested the plan summary, and I was told it wouldn't be available for a few days because it was being rewritten. I got notice a few days later the plan summary was available online. I recently requested the annual report for the retirement plan for the last 2 years. The plan administrator told me he unfortunately did not have the last 2 annual reports. Again, it is my understanding that almost everything I just described here can be prosecuted civilly or even criminally, and these actions are punishable through penalties, interest, and criminal convictions. My payroll retirement deductions go into various mutual funds, and with the market in such flux, I would like those payroll deductions to get into my mutual funds as soon as possible, as required by law. This management team does not seem to care about complying to the laws set up to protect employees. Clinic employees are nonprofit workers, and we do not have huge salaries or bonuses. It is hard enough to save money to contribute to the retirement plan, but it is outrageous that the clinic management team so carelessly manages our retirement plan in the deceptive, unethical, and even unlawful way that it does. The Arnold and Porter report was not even close in their conclusions about how the 403B plan is or was managed. It appears they just bought the story that the management team sold them without further investigation. So, to protect the interest of employees and the retirement plan, on April 12th of 2009, I filed my first complaint about the situation with the Enforcement Division of the Securities and Exchange Commission. I anticipate filing a second complaint in the next few weeks. Also this week, I will be filing a formal complaint with the Department of Labor, which by all indications from representatives at the Department of Labor will result in a formal investigation of the matter. This complaint was delayed because we had to wait for the plan administrator to release the first quarter statements. This just happened this past Thursday. I needed that documentation to show how late they have been getting our withholdings to the plan. And as long as this management team has control over the retirement plan, I will be pursuing any civil actions possible. My hope is that enforcement actions will prohibit future fidelity bonding that is necessary for positions with fiduciary responsibilities. I believe that senior management has clearly failed in their fiduciary responsibilities to clinic employees with regard to the 403B retirement plan. Even when these matters were specifically brought to their attention, the disrespect and disregard of the seriousness of these matters was troubling. The disregard and mismanagement of the retirement plan also raises questions as to whether there are other areas in which the interest of employees and the legal obligations of the clinic are being disregarded, including other areas of mismanagement that could expose the clinic to liability or even jeopardize its future.
Thank you, Mr. Bennish.